I know people were concerned of our absence on Friday.
Very.
But don't worry, folks. We're back. Biggest return of the weekend. Oh, baby. That's right.
Shock and awe. Shock and awe.
Indeed. Indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a Monday edition of the Grossi Perna Show. Tom Grossi, Brandon Perna, in the saga, the epic, the triumph that is GPS. Jips. Welcome to Jips. We hope you had
There's
a nice
question.
Well, no.
Sorry.
Screw your weekend. Screw your weekend. You know what?
No. Go for it, Tom. You go first.
I was saying people had a nice Passover and Easter. That's all I was going to say. But you wanted to navigate right to the good stuff. Typical man. Just wanted to get down to business while I still got my socks on.
Whoa. Well, I was just going to ask. GPS? Sounds like gypsy. Is gypsy an offensive term?
I mean, they have the wedding show.
Yeah. See, I don't know.
I don't,
Somebody said it was offensive, and I watched a lot of Peaky Blinders, and they refer to themselves as gypsies. That's where they came from. So I didn't know. I want to educate myself, but I never thought that was an offensive thing. So
I think it's just like the things that you say following and before those words that can be like if you're saying it like as a derogatory, do you know what I mean? Like I don't feel like the label is. I could be wrong. It is
lot
offensive.
Of people are saying it is.
People are saying it's offensive. Okay, so nope, that's it. Okay, well then that whole wedding show is just a swing and a miss. So people are.
That's
saying,
how we start it.
That's how we start.
Every day we will start this show asking about a new phrase or word. Not new, but we will present a phrase or word, and you tell us:
is this offensive in 2022?
Yeah. Okay, now we're getting some. No, it's not. It's interesting.
Yeah,
I guess we need somebody who identifies as a gypsy to clarify for us.
We're gonna have to bring someone on. That's gonna be our first guest. We don't have guests on GPS, but we're gonna be like, can we?
Are you getting another? Are you getting an athlete or a sports YouTuber? Nope.
We're gonna learn about vocabulary today. That's what we're gonna learn, folks. We got a lot to talk about. Yeah, we didn't go live on Friday because really the only news that was breaking was Stephon Gilmore to the Colts. We'll talk about that a bit today. I think it's being a little overhyped if you're asking me. That's just a little, it's just my opinion. We'll talk about that. We got the USFL happen this weekend. Case Cookus he played, right? He came in for a few snaps. Case Cookus.
What team does he play for?
Case, the best one. This is how much people are like DMing me. Like, you covering the USFL? I said no, but I said you were.
He was he's on the Stars. So I don't know how many snaps he got in.
But he did.
Look, I watched 1.5 of the USFL games. It was a busy weekend. Kind of stupid for the USFL to start on a holiday weekend. So I'm trying to get through the rest of what I didn't watch today. He plays for the Stars, and all I can tell you about the Stars, Tom, is they have the most disgusting uniforms I've ever seen in my life.
Yes, but they have Case Cookus, so
they do
Paxton
have Cookus.
Lynch. I saw he had some snaps. Paxton Lynch, didn't he throw like a pick?
Yeah, his overall stat line is just really bad. So, look, let's share. Okay, we'll talk about these receivers threatening to hold out. You know,
Yes.
Deebo, AJ, Terry McLaurin, and the Panthers might be interested in Baker Mayfield. But since we're here, let's just talk about the USFL.
Let's talk about it. All right. I want to be very clear. I watched nothing. I watched absolutely nothing. So you can make up things, but I did see like some clips. I saw like there's drones now on like the kickoff returns. I'm like, that's just gonna beam somebody right in the head because they're getting pretty close. And there's like some weird angles when it comes to kicking the ball, which I didn't think helped a whole lot because you couldn't see it go through the uprights. Happy birthday. But yeah. Tell the people, Brandon Perna, your thoughts on the first weekend of USFL games.
Yeah. Again, don't do it on a holiday weekend. That's an issue because people are trying to do stuff with their family. So you can't really zone in and focus. And I like to watch my football. But overall, ratings, TV ratings, very solid for the first game on Saturday night, which was on both Fox and NBC. I think 3.5 million viewers. Gameplay very similar to the XFL. I like the drone. I like the drones on the kicks. I like the drones when Shea Patterson trips over his feet, fumbles the ball away, and the other team takes it for a score. It is a nice angle. Yes, Paxton Lynch played bad. He threw an atrocious pick, retweeted it out. And like, I'm not like tweeting out that video to crap on Paxton Lynch. It's just something that happened. It was a bad play. And it was the first play of that game I watched. I was like, oh, good. Paxton Lynch is going in perfect. And then boom, he throws a really ugly pick. What I wanted to say is like, because I did a whole video about Paxton like 2 weeks ago about him being a forgotten draft bust. And the reason I watch the USFL is because these are guys who are on their last lifeline trying to get back into the NFL, right? They're guys who are on practice squads around the NFL and it's not working out. So they're trying to showcase their skills and their talent. And I'm rooting for all of these guys. Like, I'm not rooting against Paxton Lynch. So the amount of just kind of shitting on Lynch when he threw the interception, it's kind of sad. And I think people assume like if I retweet him doing that, I'm trying to crap on him. And that's not the case. Like, I'm rooting for Paxton. It's just, it's unfortunate he didn't play well. And I'm rooting for all of these guys because I think there's something, and it's the USFL, the football, the product is pretty good, but it's never going to be the same as the NFL, right? You don't have the same quarterback play. Like, that's where you really notice a difference is QB play. But it's like, man, these are guys who are risking their health. They're playing for not a lot of money to get noticed, to get another chance in the league. And that's really like, I was asking myself, like, why am I watching this? It's like, because I want to see some of these guys get to the NFL. Like, I want to see the success story. So, you know, I think there's just something really admirable about guys out there playing who are, it's like you and I doing YouTube. Yeah. We're not getting called up by the big leagues. So we got to do our own thing. These USFLers, they're out there balling. It's their last chance. And I like that. I like that part because it's competitive. Sure. And the first game was great. The second two, not so great. They had to cancel the fourth game because of weather. It's rescheduled. It's tonight. And I like that the league is trying different things. Like, you can't just throw a drone into an NFL game. People lose their mind. Sure. But if you can make it work and like, hey, maybe we can throw a drone in every now and then. Or they have 2 sky cams. So add a second sky cam. Like, there's cameramen on the field sometimes. Like, it's more of a show. So that's what I like about it. But here's what you do. Small hole. You put a tiny camera in the ball. That's it. What does that add? Nothing. But because you're just going to probably see someone's like armpit the entire time because when it makes the ball harder to throw. Yeah. And the helmet cams, like seeing a pick six on a helmet cam, kind of cool.
That was interesting. Yeah.
It's like for a replay angle, I think it's nice. It's not necessarily like you don't want it to be the main, camera angle during the live play, but to see it afterwards, kind of like it. Or it's like the problem with those helmet cams is it seems like your vision's like limited.
Correct.
You're not necessarily seeing what the player's seeing. And in fact, it does make the game look harder. It's like,
yes, I will say that
you're seeing
100%.
what the running back's seeing running through a hole. You're like, oh my God, how did he get any yards?
Yep. Yeah.
So I like that part of it. But anyway, I'm going to recap all the games. But
I mean, do you think overall, like, it was a success based on what you saw?
I'd say based on that first game for sure. The XFL numbers were doing well though too. That's what everybody forgets. Like,
and then it kind of starts petering off a bit, and then like it was finding some consistency before the pandemic though.
Yeah, it just got screwed by COVID. Like it had to shut down because of COVID. It wasn't because it wasn't succeeding. In fact, it was probably the most successful.
Which actually might help it though, considering now you have like The Rock who's behind it. Like you have like major names behind it, and they're having years to develop it. So yeah,
that's
again. Good.
It needs to stick around for a few years for anybody to care about like a team. You know what I mean?
Correct.
Like, you can't just jump on a team and go all in. Like some people are crazy enough to do it. Like I love the Breakers. Oh my God, I am the biggest Breakers fan. But that's because I have to be. And all the games, they're in Alabama right now, and then they'll move to Canton. That makes it a little tricky for building fan bases, but it's very cost effective. So we'll see.
I know. I saw there was a lot of emptiness in some of the stands, and I was just like, well, that has to be expected, right? Because you're basically offering. I don't even know who would pay money to go see it right now because there's nothing that's established. There's no established product.
GPS Live from the USFL coming next week.
Like this guy's doing something. Yeah, Jamon Moore, man, who's a former Packer wide receiver, 4th rounder. He had a horrible stat line too. I mean, like it's funny because you see these guys, like it's just. When it's done, and you see like how difficult it was for them to play in the NFL. Now here is like obviously a step down with the USFL, but like football, here's the hot take of the day. Football's hard. Football is a very difficult sport. So like you mentioned the camera, like, and I've played like football like in my youth, but like even like when I was doing with Ben Kurt, like having a helmet on, like dramatically changes like trying to catch that ball and getting your head around. Like just like that small little tweak. I'm like, oh, okay. This is a little bit more difficult.
Yeah. And they throw in like some shoulder pads for catching.
Oh yeah.
Your arm extension isn't as free or as loose. But
he was telling me like with a helmet on for like the first 3 days of like training and stuff like that, like your neck is gone. Like it's so sore. So
I bet. Yeah, you're probably working muscles you don't usually, work. I can attest. My legs still aren't right from running that stupid 40 almost 2 weeks ago.
I haven't been able to walk for so long. Yeah.
It's the muscles right up in here.
Oh, your crotch.
Like where the legs attached to the pelvis or however your anatomy works. My hamstrings. Oh my God. It's like
I can't wait for someone muscles. To just clip you just doing this.
Yeah.
That's what I'm excited. That's what I'm excited for on Twitter to see after this show. Just someone you just highlighting your groin.
Yeah. I'll say the best thing so far about the USFL has been the field audio. Now,
yes,
they have made a concerted effort to give you more of the game sound. And obviously with less fans, it's super easy to hear what's happening on the field.
Yes.
But they're piping it through in the live broadcast, and you're getting cool moments. And the XFL was doing that as well. But like the sound of pads hitting every play, like it is very loud. And I do enjoy that part of the game. And I think that's something the NFL could do more with is more on-field audio, even if it is just more of like the players hitting each other at the snap of the ball. Cause you're reminded quite a bit. And maybe because I was listening with my earphones in while putting my child to sleep, I was like, man, this sounds like they're beating the piss out of each other every single play. I like that. I think the NFL can do it.
Well, that also, I will say, there wasn't a lot of good things about it, but like when the NFL was played at like the height of the pandemic, you heard more of that stuff just because there wasn't the crowd noise to like drown it out. Like you could hear people on the sideline, like you could hear people like talking on the field, and like you heard some of the hits. Again, I think it's still better with the crowd, but I completely understand that. And people were talking about like the coaches, like having their audio coming through, like was cool, because it just gives you like another insight to the game. Now they can't do that for the NFL because then people are going to be like listening to the broadcasts and all that great stuff.
Yeah.
But
they'll like, you get the signal calls at the line, like the audibles, the checkdowns. Like you can't, because the quarterbacks are going to have to change that every week then.
Yes.
We know what that means now. But
so, I mean, again, I'm curious to see what the longevity is going to be of the USFL. But it seemed the first game, like at least what I was seeing on Twitter, like it was exciting and came down to like, the last play. So that's good for the product.
The XFL landed, they announced their coaches last week, and they got a bunch of big name coaches for next season, like Wade Phillips, Hines Ward, Rod Woodson, Terrell Buckley. Like they got some firepower. So, I mean, I think ultimately the two leagues are going to have to merge if they want to be
probably
competitive. And maybe it's both like full 8-on-8 teams, or maybe it's like two of the weakest markets get cut from each league and then they merge into one. Don't know, but degeneration. Is that my crotch? Are we still talking about my crotch?
We're still talking about your crotch in the chat. Yes, because you did this.
Hashtag like, Perna crotch rot 2022.
Suck it. DX Degeneration X. That's what that. I mean, well, that's that. Vin Diesel. But in terms of like the USFL and XFL, I am curious because like who is the XFL's like player pool? Where's that going to come from? Like, is that going to start pulling from USFL guys when they start playing at the same time? Because if they're like, hey, we're going to give you more money, people are going to jump ship and be like, well, I could get more publicity. I have a better chance to potentially make an NFL roster and I get more money, like going into the XFL. So I am curious to see if even those two spring leads can coexist at the same time.
Yeah, you're just like, we're running out of players, guys.
Yeah, because the pool is only so big, right? Unless you start calling up like random people and saying, hey, come play. Like, I mean, in terms of like the level of athlete, because even like the athletes like a Paxton Lynch, right? There are only so many Paxton Lynches out there because like those are still like really good athletes. But it just goes to show how insane the athletes are in the NFL. You're talking about like 1,000 people in the entire world, like on the planet. So, because you don't want to get like the bottom of the barrel, because then the play is going to suck and people aren't going to watch.
The best looking quarterback so far has been Luis Perez. And he is just he's a spring league journeyman. He was solid in the AAF, played in the XFL, and now he only played like a half. Like his team was rotating quarterbacks. So I don't know. It's just bizarre. It's interesting.
Well, fan-controlled football also came back, and Terrell Owens, who's like 48 years old, caught a touchdown.
That's interesting. I tried to watch that. It's hard to watch because I think you can only do it through like Twitch or something.
It's Twitch. The ball hit the stands, and because of that, the guy didn't catch a touchdown. Like they had a balcony in the end zone that was jutting out, and they threw the ball, and it bounced off of it, so the receiver couldn't catch it. And they're like, you got to accommodate for that. I'm like, how are you supposed to accommodate for a building?
Yeah.
So,
it's like the frigging video screen in Jerry World.
Yeah, in Dallas, like if you hit it with a punt, 100%.
Okay, do-over. Thanks a lot, Jerry.
Thanks, Jerry. Stupid.
All right. You want to talk about these receivers?
Let's talk about these receivers, Brandon Perna.
People came here for that.
That's what they came here for. Yeah, so Adam Schefter tweeting out some weird thing. basically saying that there are 3 receivers that are in the last year of their contract because you're going to start seeing, some exercises warm up today. The Packers are going to be there. I'm excited. So that's opening up. But
no Rodgers, right?
Levin? Rodgers,
no Rodgers,
he's not coming.
right?
No, he's not coming to the voluntary stuff. He doesn't need to. I mean, like But depending on where you read it, look at Diva Rodgers, who won an MVP when he didn't show up all summer. I think he's going to be okay. I think he'll be okay. Regardless. Sorry. Yes, Adam Schefter tweeting out that you have guys like AJ Brown, Deebo Samuel, Scary Terry, who coming into last year their contract. Didn't he say though that Scary Terry's still going to show up because he's like a leader of the team? He's still going to wind up showing up.
There are 2 things. He's not going to participate, but he's going to show up.
Okay. I mean, we've seen that before though, for guys who are like waiting for a contract and they're not going to participate, but they'll like be on the sidelines and be like, "Go get him, champ."
It's like me on Clickbait Sports. Show up, but do I always participate?
No.
Depends on the week. Depends on how much of a leader I want to be.
That's accurate. That is accurate. So we started or titled this episode a little sign bench trade, right? A little play on that game where you're
marry, kill, fornicate.
It's the sex. That's how you do it.
Juicy.
So
talkative.
Yep.
Scandalous.
That's why you watch GPS, because you are here for the gyration and the highlighting of groins. And if you're not,
Herbert knows.
Then I don't know why. Herbert's here.
Anytime we mention groin, thumbs up the video.
Well, then they can unlike it if they've already thumbs it up. Like if they keep doing it. Like if they didn't like it and we say groin and they hit it, and then they hit it again when we say groin, then that unlikes it.
Yeah, if you've already done it, don't redo it.
Okay, you just gotta be very.
Redo it twice.
You just gotta be very. You gotta be very clear. It's why is hot? Because I don't think Hollywood Brown's an elite receiver. He's not considered like the same. Like he's good, but he's not considered in like the upper echelon of these guys. Like these guys. Why we're focusing on them today, they are going to command like insane money because right now the wide receiver market is absolutely exploding. And you see how much even like middle tier guys are getting paid or upper middle tier. And that is going to command record breaking contracts. I mean, there's a good chance that you had the Devontae Adams and you had Tyreek Hill. There's a good chance that one of these guys breaks that record within the year. I mean, because they're super young. Right? They're showing that they're talented. But I'm curious, Brandon Perna, right off the bat, right out of the gate, out of all of these guys, and if they are commanding like record-breaking wide receiver money, which one do you give it to?
Yeah, see, this is interesting to me. That's why I wanted to talk about it today. So the wide receiver market's been reset by the guys you just mentioned. And what's different, like all of these guys have a year on their contract left, right?
Yes.
So I think what's unfair to the organization is that they're planning. I think all of these guys would be in their organization's plans to be re-signed.
Sure.
Okay. And usually that's going to happen like during this upcoming season. Like I think the smart teams would be like, okay, Terry, we want to get a deal worked with you now during the season. Yes. We don't want you to hit free agency. We don't want to mess with tenders or the franchise tag. But because all these other receivers, like even Diggs got like a huge extension. We saw what Christian Kirk got going over to the Dolphins. And you've got Deebo, you've got McLaurin, and you've got AJ Brown, who are probably as good as all of those guys, except for maybe Tyreek Hill and Devontae Adams, if not better than maybe some of the guys who got extended. So they're kind of forcing the teams to do this deal probably earlier than the teams wanted to do, right?
Sure.
And that's kind of why it's a story. That's why they're trying to, and the only leverage they have is to not show up. So if I had to choose, though, because obviously you want to, each of these teams want to sign all of these guys. You don't want to let any of them go. and I was trying to think about this. I think Terry McLaurin's the most underrated of the group.
I agree.
Because he's played with he's had 8 different starting quarterbacks in 3 years or some shit. It's a stupid number.
And he still puts up insane production.
Yeah. Deebo Samuel is probably the most dynamic, but we're basing that off of one kind of breakout season in San Francisco. And it's how much of Deebo's skills are because Kyle Shanahan's putting him in a place to succeed.
His scheme, sure.
So I think Terry McLaurin has the biggest upside by going, if you put him on a team with a good quarterback, I think he's a star.
Yeah.
But there's something about AJ Brown that I just love. So if I had to sign one of these guys, it's AJ Brown. And I don't know if that's the right answer. Production, he's been, I think, the best, most consistent. He just kind of is physically dominant at times. And that's the guy. Also, Ryan Tannehill, good quarterback, but I think you put AJ Brown with a little bit better quarterback.
Oh, God.
Really, really good.
Oh, yeah. Well, all right. And another guy that we can mention is DK Metcalf, in that there hasn't been the same kind of buzz about him holding out or anything. There's obviously the rumors about him potentially being traded, and because he's going to be an unrestricted free agent next season at the end of this season. And he's put up good numbers too. But to your point about guys who have kind of blown up and have put up really, really good stats, you had Deebo, like you said, had the one really, really good year last year. You look at AJ Brown, he had back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons, and then had 869 in just 13 games from this season. And then Scary Terry has put nearly back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons together. He had 919 his rookie year, had 1,100 last year, and then had 1053 this year. So I have to say, Scary Terry's probably one of the most underrated guys. If you play fantasy football, you know who he is, and he's definitely worth it. But in terms of guys that are talked about a lot, I think a lot of it is because he's on Washington. That's why he doesn't get a lot of the buzz, and they don't have great quarterbacks. But a guy even with Carson Wentz, I think that he's going to do well. Be honest, the guy that I would like to trade for the most, I think AJ Brown is going to be probably the highest paid out of all these guys in terms of what his ceiling is, what his potential is. And he really is that commanding number one guy. But, oh man, I would take Scary Terry in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
In a heartbeat, because it's like you said, you put him on a team where they have a good quarterback, his production is going to explode because he just catches the ball regardless of who's throwing to him. It could be behind him, it could be high, it could be low, it could be a sideline. It doesn't matter. He's catching the ball. So yeah, he's really, really damn good. I gotta be honest, out of all three of these guys, I think Deebo is the guy you get a little hesitant on. And if he's saying, I want $25 million, I don't blame him for asking for that. But at the same time, he'd be the one I'd be the most concerned about. They really utilized him this year. They utilized him really well. He was very, very impressive. But I think you just get more consistency out of AJ Brown and Scary Terry.
Yeah, it my concern with Deebo would be if let's just say I'm the coach telling my GM to make this decision. I don't think I'm smart enough to get the best out of Deebo. So the reason I don't go with Deebo is because of my own incompetence. You know what I mean? It's man, he's really good, but I'm going to screw it up. And how much of his, it's so hard because he did have 1,400 receiving yards, plus a ton of rushing yards. So it's but it's kind of an outlier season so far. Is he going to do that every year? Is his injury risk greater if you keep using him as a running back? Again, there's no wrong answer. Man.
Because, again, I'm just going to go off past these three guys, but DK Metcalf's another guy. He's put up nearly 1,000 yards every single season too. The past 2 seasons, he's had double-digit touchdowns. He's going to get a lot of money too. Yeah. He's going to get a ton of money.
And
I don't know if the Seahawks are going to wind up.
He doesn't have Russell Wilson this season, so his production's probably going to drop. if anybody needs to get that contract done before the season starts, it's DK.
I'm
sorry,
curious
Drew
what
Lock's
his...
not getting him those numbers, I don't think.
Hold on. I'm curious, what were his numbers, though, when Russell was in... Oh, they're not. Hold on. Oh, so it was... Honestly, it was like when Russell came back. Because he came back against Green Bay, and he had 26 yards, then 31, then 13, then 60. He actually struggled when Wilson came back. He had that one really good game against Detroit, like at the end of the season. But like the beginning of the season was really good for him, and then he fell off in the middle. So, I mean, maybe they just cut, like, if they are targeting him nonstop, whoever their QB is going to be, just because he's a huge guy, maybe his stats do pretty well. I think if anybody, I think it's Deebo Samuel who needs that contract done now, because I don't know if you're going to be able to put up 1,400 yards again. For like the production that they did with all their running backs that were injured, I don't know if he's going to be utilized in that way.
I think if the Packers were, let's just say they were in on one of these guys, I think the best fit for Green Bay would be Terry McLaurin.
Yes.
I think like the guy who would work the best with Rodgers is McLaurin. Like he's such a good route runner. He's such a tactician. It's like the guy, he's just going to get open for Rodgers, and Rodgers is going to find him. Again, there's no wrong answer, but I think it's all of these guys are really good, and it just might be like if you're thinking about this the way we are with the sign bench trade, it's like which guy fits where with the destination you're talking about. Like DK, like if he were traded to the Chiefs, because that's just something that's been rumored to.
Sure.
I don't like that because I think Mahomes can do what Russell Wilson did, and that's extend plays and just throw a bomb to DK Metcalf, who is a physical beast and is going to make plays there. But like a quick release cube, like I don't know if DK is the best fit with a quarterback who's a quick timing route, type of QB.
I think Terry McLaurin would be the best fit if the Packers were like, you know what, screw it, let's go get a guy, because he's super young, he's proven, he's a leader, which is what we need in that wide receiver room right now. We obviously got Sammy Watkins, but Randall Cobb is there too, but they need to completely revamp that wide receiver room. You have a wide receiver one guy that you're going to lock up for numerous years, and then you could start like rebuilding in the draft. Yeah. But I think also to look at the other standpoint, if you're a team right now, which one of these guys are you trading just because of the situation that you're in? Right? The Seahawks, they are not going to be competitive this year, at least in terms of, where they are within their division. If they get like a Malik Willis, like they could be really good with like the power run game. They do have good wide receivers. The defense, who the hell knows? It's hot and cold. But I don't know. I don't think they're ready for a Super Bowl right this second. Right? You look at Washington. Their division's awful, but maybe they finish second. You look at the Titans, who I still think are Super Bowl contenders. I think of all the teams, it makes the least amount of sense for the Titans to get rid of AJ Brown.
Yeah, they got to figure that out.
You're getting rid of one of your best players on the team. And then with Deebo Samuel, I think that comes down to Shanahan. He's like, can I find another Deebo Samuel in this draft? In which everybody and their mother's like, there's 2 to 3 Deebo Samuels in this draft right now. Like, can you find a guy that you can plug in and at least make up, like just with the aggregate? Can you like find 2 guys that you could turn into the next Deebo Samuel and make up those yards, right? And make up those stats. Like you're basically moneyballing it.
Yeah, here's okay. So right now the Titans problem is their cap space.
Yes.
Right. So they're bad now. And then I just went to 2023 and their estimated cap space right now is just 2.2 million.
Yeah.
They've got Bud Dupree on the hook for a $20 million cap hit in 2023. Kevin Byard, 19 million. Landry, 18. Derrick Henry, 15. Tannehill, 36. So that's why they can't, like, it's okay if they don't have the cap this year. Like, they want an extension. You could probably take some cap off of this year by reworking AJ Brown's deal. Sure. But he's probably going to want a big chunk next year. And it looks like that might be a bit of an issue. So that's probably why they haven't done it. But again, it is, there's receivers in this draft, and I don't think any of these teams are really going to make a decision on this until they figure out if they've drafted their replacement. And to your point with DK, I kind of believe the opposite, where the Seahawks aren't going to be paying a quarterback this year. I think their quarterback, what they're paying is like one of the lowest in the NFL. If they draft their guy, it's also going to be cheap still. So now is the time you can overpay for a receiver. And I think having a guy like DK with a young quarterback is nice. Like, you want somebody to throw to. And if you got Lockett and DK and you rely on your run game, I think that's enough. So I think Seattle's in a good spot to pay a guy like Metcalf. But
I don't think Renfro is threatening to leave. Like, the reason these guys are in the title is because there's like, we want a new contract right now. Under Renfro, who isn't unrestricted free agent next year, he's going to get a lot of money. I don't think he's going to get, considering you are paying Devontae Adams, he's not going to get that kind of money just because you're not going to be able to afford to have those huge contracts in your wide receiver room. The Packers had the same issue back in the day. It's funny now, but they had the issue when they extended Devontae Adams. They had Jordy Nelson, they had Randall Cobb, and each of them were scheduled to make $10 million a year, which at the time was like, whoa, calm down now. Like that's a big hit. $30 million for 3 wide receivers. Now you're getting like one guy who's making that. But yeah, Renfro is not going to get that kind of money.
Yeah. And these 3 receivers, like, it's being reported that they're not going to participate in the voluntary workouts, which isn't a huge deal. But like, we're talking about these guys because they're all like, we want new money now. They're asking for it. I don't think Renfro's asked for it. The Raiders cap space?
No, Washington. I imagine they have to have a lot of money. What the hell else are they spending it on?
Probably Dan Snyder's legal fees.
That's accurate. They could be doing that. Let's see. Their cap space right now, they got 11 mil. So next year they're, oh my God, it's supposed to be 43 mil. Yeah. So I think if there's anybody who's going to get a lot of money thrown at them, they might just throw a lot of money at Scary Terry because they can afford it. And they can be like, okay, here you go. Like, we're going to lock you up, and hopefully our team could actually be good within the next 5 years.
Yeah, and they can cut Carson Wentz after this season, and there's no
guaranteed money after that. Yep, yeah. It's literally this season, and that's it. That's why I didn't think the trade was that bad, because if you look past this season, there's no guaranteed money that needs to get thrown at him. Like, there's not going to be any dead cap. It's not going to be any of that. So you could literally just cut him after this year. And again, what are they going to do anyway? Like, I don't think the Washington Commanders are going to win a Super Bowl this year. So
no.
It's kind of like, okay, we could even go out and draft a QB if we want to, and he could sit under Carson Wentz and learn, the good stuff, not to fracture both ankles and stuff, but the good stuff, and then take it from there.
I forgot about that. The double sprained ankles.
Oh my God.
To start the season.
Yeah.
Oh, Carson.
But all right. So if you're a GM, it seems like you're trading Deebo Samuel, right? Because you can't.
Yeah, because of my own stupidity.
Okay, you're trading him because you don't want to also pay him $25 million. I mean, I think that's valid.
Yeah. I trade Deebo. I sign. Oh, man.
I don't want to bench any of them.
Yeah, well, it's.
I know.
We're not killing anyone. That's the thing.
Well, how about this? Keep him on the team for like right now without the extension, and like make the risk that you could potentially be paying them more money.
Yeah.
I mean, like there's that option, right? Like if you look at who's going to have the best season out of all 3 of these guys. So if you're basically saying like, listen, bet on yourselves. If you do amazingly well, we're going to make you the highest paid wide receiver. I mean, which of these guys is most likely to hit that ceiling?
Yeah.
I think Scary Terry's
Mclaurin is a little bit better of a receiver than AJ Brown. But I think AJ Brown has done more with less. Oh, shit. I mean,
I don't think so. I think it's just that AJ Brown has like that. I think AJ Brown could be better, one, because he was hurt last year.
Yeah. As I was saying that, I was wrong. I was like, no, Terry's played with nobody.
Oh, he's got so much less, buddy.
He's played
He's
with
got
nobody. Man, maybe I change. Maybe I sign Terry. I bench AJ. I trade Deebo.
Yeah. I think AJ has the best chance to have the best season statistically.
Yeah, that's what I'm leaning towards.
Like, I think he means the most to the team. And what I mean by that is Scary Terry is going to be consistently good regardless of who's throwing him the ball, right? AJ Brown, if he goes down, the entire team is done. Washington, if Terry goes down, I mean, they're still going to suck. You know what I mean? Like, it's like that's how I'm viewing it. But
yeah,
it's tough though.
Yeah,
and again,
I think
could be very good.
AJ Brown's physicality is what impresses me when I watch him play. And it's like him and DK being from the same college. That's just insane.
Yeah.
But I would take AJ Brown over DK every time. I just really like AJ Brown. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Again, Deebo, like if he went to the Packers, he's not going to, but like he goes to the Packers, I think he could do well because he would be utilized in a similar manner, right? He needs that kind of like Shanahan offense to, I think, really to put up the kind of stats that he did last year. And I still think he's going to be very good. Like, especially if Trey Lance develops into, even if Trey Lance struggles, but like you could just use Deebo Samuel and rely on him. Like you're going to get a lot of production out of him. Oh, do they trade DJ Moore?
No, they should not.
But he's their receiver. Like he is their guy. He also knows that their mascot's an actual panther, not a bear. So.
Oh yeah, that was funny.
So
Carolina Panthers, they got a lot of cap.
Yeah, the Panthers are in such a weird place. Like they're filling some holes, like, and they're doing it well, but there's just so much uncertainty with that team. Like they are in the middle of a rebuild, and I'm curious because you don't know if Matt Rule is going to be the guy, right? You don't know who the QB is going to be. I'm assuming they're going to draft one. Christian McCaffrey, you worry about his long-term longevity considering how often he gets injured. I mean, the defense is like they drafted an entire defense recently, so I don't know what the hell the Panthers are going to be. But
yeah, they're in on everyone.
When they figure it out on offense, then they'll be okay. But
yeah,
I just don't know when they're going to get there.
No, the Panthers have so many. They're in purgatory. They might be interested in Baker Mayfield. They're also meeting with Sam Howell, who looks and plays like Baker Mayfield. Sometimes the similarities I see between it's like the same guy. Baker deserves a shot. If I were Baker, I would want to go to Seattle over Carolina by a long shot. Mm-hmm. And they still have Sam Darnold on the roster. So, like, I mean, I think the Panthers' best interest is to plan on starting Sam Darnold, draft a QB, because you can play Darnold, and if it's not working out, the rookie can get some work in. And if you want to make a coaching change, hopefully whatever coach he brings in believes in the guy you just drafted. If not, then you're in a bad spot, but just draft another QB. Draft QBs until you find a guy.
Well, and that worked for you. for Baker.
We took chances on guys like Case Keenum and Joe Flacco. If we had just drafted every year, it would have worked out. Freaking would have.
Because Baker brought this up because Baker was on a podcast. What was that, last week or 2 weeks ago? He was on a podcast in which he said like he had different offensive coordinators, like different head coaches for the majority of his entire career. And so I think to your point that's excellent because if you get I mean, Sam Howell is which is funny because that's what we said on Clickbait. Sam Howell's like talking to the Panthers, like he's doing a private workout with them, right? So if they get Sam Howell, right, the next guy they bring in, if Matt Rule isn't there, what happens if he's like, this guy sucks? Like, I don't want this QB, right? They'll work with who they have, and it's kind of, but it makes it 10 times more difficult because the guy who's drafting him has a vision for how he's going to operate in that offense. If you have a different head coach who comes in with a different style of offense, that guy that you just drafted might not fit in that offense. And then it's up to you going, okay, well, am I just going to be like what a head coach should be and put players in the best position? But what if it puts everybody else on the offense in the best position to succeed except that quarterback because he can't make the throws or he can't be mobile or he can't extend the plays, whatever.
Right. Yeah,
that's valid.
What it comes down to for the Panthers is who wanted Sam Darnold, right? Was it the GM or was it Matt Rule? Like, if the GM kind of forced Sam Darnold on Matt Rule, then you kind of want to give Matt Rule the chance to draft the quarterback he wants to work with. If Matt Rule really wanted Sam Darnold, if I'm the GM and or owner of the Panthers, I'm like, you make it work with him this year,
sure,
or you're done. And we will start from scratch with a new coach and draft the QB they want, because if you're not making it work with Darnold, they're probably going to have a high draft pick next year in a draft class that has a couple, premier quarterbacks coming out. So I just don't know who wanted Sam Darnold, and if you knew that answer, then it would be a little bit easier to figure out what they're going to do. I don't think unless they can get rid of Darnold, why would they go after Baker Mayfield? Like, Baker's been better than Sam, but you can't pay Baker and Sam Darnold. It just, I don't know. They're in a dumb situation.
How much is he going to cost, though? I mean, that's like that because you're giving up draft capital for him as well. Yeah, I think what makes the most sense is Baker to the Seahawks. Like, that's what I think makes the most sense by far. If you're the Panthers, I can even see a situation where you don't even draft a QB in one of your premium positions because, like, you know what? Maybe we'll take a flyer in like the 3rd round or something like that, or like the beginning of the 4th, we'll go out and get a QB and maybe it'll work. Because if you're saying, hey, we have premium draft picks, let's go and fill those gaps in the team so that when next year comes around, we're going to be able to say, yes, let's go basically plug in a QB that we have a good feeling about and then potentially do well. We might have a new head coach. We might have, we might have a new running back. We might have a new lot of things, but I mean, that is an option too. And it is a strategy.
Yeah. If I'm the Panthers, you know who I'm trading is Robbie Anderson.
Who doesn't want Baker Mayfield?
Yeah. What a dick move by Robbie Anderson. Absolutely unnecessarily says no on a trade rumor of Baker going to the Panthers. So I think it was Instagram. Robbie Anderson commented that he didn't want Baker Mayfield. I think there's a code in the NFL where you don't do that to another player. And I don't think Robbie Anderson's good enough to be saying that. He's an explosive guy who at times looks great, but he's never been consistent enough to negate a quarterback coming his way. He's a tradable piece. I would trade him if I were the Panthers. Just a silly thing. It's not really worth the story, but I'm like, man, that is such a cold move by Robbie Anderson. Like, kick Baker Mayfield while he's down, Robbie. Kick him while, and maybe Baker rubs people that wrong. Maybe his teammates really don't like him that much, and it's known. But I don't know. It just seems silly.
Well, I mean, I think that is a legitimate issue in all of this because there has been a lot of smoke about players just not getting along with Baker Mayfield. Like, they just don't want to play with him. So,
is it players or receivers who are just mad they're not getting the ball enough? That's what I don't know.
But that's the thing. OBJ, obviously. Jarvis Landry. I think
best friend.
I don't know. I think that just where there's smoke, there might be a little bit of fire there.
There could be. I get why Baker's personality might not, like, it would work if he lit it up, right? Like,
yes. It's like Tom Brady, like literally like Tom Brady. Like, he has a certain type of personality in which he's like, I demand this, and this, but he shows up and he goes like, I'm demanding this for myself too. So like, we're okay. And again, I think Baker's getting a very bad rap because he played like all of last season incredibly injured, and it showed. I think that there is something to be said about the craziness and the lack of consistency in coordinators, head coaches, etc. Now, the question is going to be, can he still be a good player on another team? Or is the stuff that he's gone through and endured, like, is it too much to overcome? I mean, we talk about developing bad habits and not developing properly in the NFL. The NFL is just going to pass you by then, because the next class of QBs that are coming out, they're going to be better than you. So, Baker, or at the bare minimum, they're a blank slate that you can build up if you have a competent franchise.
Yeah. And that's why Seattle makes so much sense. It's like, it's one of the few organizations that we know for sure wants to run first, defense first, pass last. And I think Baker benefits from a system where the run sets up the pass. Where he's not asked to do a ton, and he can be very successful doing that. So,
and you have receivers who literally can just make something out of nothing.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you have amazing guys. So I think that's the best case scenario. And I don't think the Browns are going to be looking for a whole lot to try and get him. I mean, there's rumors that it's going to happen next week. It's going to happen during the draft. Like either the week of the draft or during the draft, a trade for Baker is going to be made. But his contract situation, he's going to probably be the highest paid corner in the league. That's it. It'll happen. It'll happen. They have the 5th-year option, but it'll happen. So I think, though, if you're Baker, Seattle's the best place for you to potentially go. I think it also gives Seattle the best chance to win this year, and it gets you to kind of say, like, okay, what do we have? And you rock and roll from there. Because I think if you are going into camp with Geno Smith and Drew Lock, yikes. It's not gonna be good. It's not gonna be.
Hey, Drew might be the answer.
You don't have to say it anymore, Perna.
Win, lose, or Drew, baby.
That's it. And then the last thing, because we didn't get to it, was about Stephon Gilmore. So Stephon Gilmore going to the Indianapolis Colts. Sorry, I have like something in my throat. Going to the Colts, signing a 2-year deal, making a good amount of money, making a solid amount of money. No longer on the Panthers. I know about Stephon Gilmore a lot because this was a guy that when he was available to be traded from the Patriots, Packers fans, including myself, were like, oh my God, let's get Stephon Gilmore. And then we got Rasul Douglas and we're like, yep, of course this would happen. And then Rasul Douglas had the year that he had. I would be very concerned about you looking at Stephon Gilmore as like the answer to your secondary, considering the Patriots were willing to let him go for what they did, and he didn't get picked up by the Panthers. I think that health-wise, you're running into some potential issues. So it's all going to depend on how healthy he can be, but I don't know if that's there anymore.
I think it's a solid piece because I think Gilmore is a good corner. I don't know if he's great anymore, but he's good. And I think what bringing in Gilmore does for the Colts, who don't have a first-round draft pick,
Correct.
They don't have to reach to fill that position, right? So they can maybe they can take best player available type thing in the second. I think they have like the 43rd pick or something like that. I think it just buys them time to add to the secondary as needed. And I think like the Colts defense was good last year. And I think this makes it
Jaguars, but
yeah, I think this makes them a little bit better. They add Yannick Ngakoue. They have Kwity Paye coming into his second season, DeForest Buckner. So, and, Darius Leonard in the middle of the field. And that does two things. Their pass rush, I think, could be a little bit better last year. You got Darius, who does everything well. And I think you'll see Gilmore play better with the Colts than he did with the Panthers because what they do up front is going to be more impactful. So I think you're going to get more plays on the back end by your corners because of QBs throwing under duress, making,
makes sense.
So I really like that addition. And I agree. I don't think like Gilmore's best days are behind him, but they can take a corner later if they want to add depth to the secondary. They can. What they really need are some receivers for Matt Ryan.
They do.
And if they can get the passing game going, like that's literally they're just missing an elite receiver. So if they should be trading for one of these AJ Brown, Deebo Samuels, Terry McLaurins, I don't know where they are with their cap, but
I mean, maybe they get an OBJ
for Matt Ryan. Oh yeah, you got to wait for him though. But
no, you got to wait. But I mean that. Let's be honest though. Is there another team that needs help more in the second half than the Colts? I mean, look at their catastrophic meltdown that happened like near the end of the season.
If OBJ can come back and guarantee to be there by the final week of the season, perfect. Where they won't lose to the Jags this time. Although they'll probably play in like Tennessee or the Texans. I think you rotate who you play that last. I don't know.
Yeah, they usually do. Even though like we played the Lions, good God, like so many times the last game of the season. But yeah, I'm curious because you do still have those guys out. Like Honey Badger's still out there. OBJ is still out there. Julio Jones is still out there. Like I'm waiting for. I think a lot of teams are gonna like look at the draft and be like, okay, here's the guys we got. Here's the guys we didn't. Here are the holes. Let's bring these guys on. So
yeah, are there any NFL? Are there any healthy free agent receivers left?
Will Fuller. I mean, he just has to stay.
Yeah.
He has to stay healthy.
He's
I thought
the
Packers.
He's the definition of an injured receiver.
Yes. Well, I mean, we got that in Sammy Watkins. Like Sammy Watkins again, if he could stay healthy, solid. But that's a big if. It's the same thing with Will Fuller. It's the same thing with OBJ. It's the same thing with Julio Jones. Like, that's why you saw a lot of these guys, like Christian Kirk. Again, he stays on the field usually. So, I don't know. Jarvis Landry. I think Jarvis Landry's still on the market. That's another guy. Jarvis Landry's still on the market, but he freaking wants a ton of money. Like, the rumors that he wants $20 million a year. I like Jarvis Landry a lot. I don't know who's paying him $20 million a year.
Yeah. It's like he missed that window. Sadly, he'd be great with the Colts.
Oh God, yeah, I agree. I'd agree.
But they'll see who they can grab in the draft before they sign a receiver.
And again, that's the thing too. For the Colts, if they want to, they could go. It's a deep draft class. Like they can go get some good guys on the second day, and they should be fine. But we'll see. Perna. We did it.
We did it.
What do you got coming out today?
I'll be recapping the USFL.
Nice.
And I dropped why hasn't a defensive back ever gone number one in the NFL draft video yesterday. It's pretty good. So I would check that out.
All right. That's solid. Do it. I got another 3-round mock draft for the Packers that it's going to make everyone angry. I got that out because in this iteration, a wide receiver was not picked on day one, and I think the internet's going to explode if that happens. But I have that, and I can see the Packers not doing it too. I've been saying that for a few weeks now, saying like, I wouldn't be surprised considering there is depth. They could trade out of the 28th spot and pick early in day two. We'll see. And then I think that today or tomorrow, I'm going to start the April fundraiser through the draft, which I'm giving away a signed helmet that was signed by myself and Kurt Benkert when we were doing the tryouts. So
wow, you really bringing the value of that helmet down, Tom, by throwing.
I know you could erase it. That's fine. You could wipe it down. It's fine. That's good.
Thanks, Tom. I cleared your signature off with this.
It's fine. It's small. You can just. Done.
I use turpentine.
That's it. But folks,
I should buy it and then do that.
You should. You just be like, all right, now this is a little bit more valuable now. Got it.
Well, that would have been a good clickbait punishment. They had to outbid whoever was bidding for it, and then still send them whoever the second place was, still send them the helmet anyway.
We could do that. There's a lot of stuff on like NFL auction, like that. Hold on. Like, are there any like really real quick? If I do NFL auction right now, and let's see like the Cowboys, like what they got going on, just because we would do this to Scooter. Okay, so like James Washington. Okay, like that's a ball going for $90. We can make him outbid for that. Okay, this is Hall of Fame, so actually who's all right? Travis Frederick. Okay. Oh, here you go. There's a draft card for Micah Parsons, not signed by him, but that's $510.
Ooh, the draft card, like what they submitted.
Yep. So
crazy.
We'll see. All right, folks. Appreciate you. Thanks for watching another Monday edition. I'm Tom Grossi. That's Brandon Perna. And this is GPS. And you have been navigated.
And